it would appear that the feud between the Young Turks and Tim Pool is still ongoing, and as I mentioned before in my previous video, as an experienced YouTuber who has been doing this for more than 6 years, I firmly believe that they want attention. They want Big Daddy Tim Pool to give a response to them, because this is how people used to grow on YouTube before the algorithm. You would start drama with a bigger competitor, and when the bigger competitor responds to you, he is basically using their platform in order to highlight attention onto you, and then his viewers go check you out. And if like 10% of viewers remain, you just manage to get more subscribers. So this is what is happening. This is why I think that the Young Turks are constantly talking about Tim Pool non-stop. It's because they want Tim Pool to respond to them. So let's see what they are saying now.
And I think Kanye West is a Nazi. So you invite, and Nick Fuentes is a Nazi. So you invited a couple of Nazis on your show. Tim, when you do that, you're supposed to rip their face off. And he looked genuinely surprised and hurt that Kanye was leaving.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, he said, oh no, my star, the one that's giving me all this attention is leaving. Oh, what if the money leaves with him? Oh my God.
No.
Oh, you bitch.
I kind of like this internet Bloodsports version of Cenk Uygur. I would not get into a verbal altercation with him. Like, hold on, look at that pose though. Look at it. I don't think I can do like the zinger. But what I love is the selling of moral outrage and caring how other people do their shows, especially when Tim Pool gets bigger numbers than the Young Turks. Should I actually go back in history and look at who the Young Turks ever platformed? Because I'm pretty sure they never platformed someone controversial. Ever. Like, they only platformed the most reasonable, well-thought-out people. They didn't have Alex Jones on. Oh, yeah, wait, they did. They did. When Alex Jones was more popular, Cenk Uygur had him on. It was a very pleasurable interview. Do you guys remember that? It happened. See, this is the punishment that God has given me. A long photographic memory to the point where I can recollect the events on the past. And I can remember how the Young Turks used to grow. Like back when the Young Turks were small, they would have platformed the second coming of Hitler if it gave them more views. Because they were a corporation that wanted to make profits. It's pretty much why everyone goes into business. But even then, you know, like the idea that you can't have a calm interview with a person you disagree with is such a shit-lib take. What I mean by this is, in the past, you didn't have this. Like, in the past, there are American shows, some of them even in black and white, where they would get a communist or a Nazi or, you know, someone with very deranged views. And the interviewer would just ask questions, and the response that the person interviewed would give would shock the audience. And there was no need for additional context. Like, just by allowing the person to talk was enough. And sometimes, the person that was being interviewed would even change their mind. Like, sometimes, you would have, like, a white supremacist going on to one of these shows, and he would be asked questions and checked about what he really thinks, and by the end of the show, he would actually change his mind on a couple of things. There's even a real-life situation where a black man infiltrated a KKK chapter, and by the end of it, he managed to de-radicalize a couple of people by showing them that, well, your vision of black people is not exactly the same as in reality, right? But this is how things were done. This is how you actually de-radicalize people. The idea that it's like, okay, so Kanye West, which apparently, according to Cenk Uygur, is a Nazi now. Like, I didn't know that the Nazis are part of the diversity, inclusion, equity programs now. That they're having, like, these outreach programs towards minorities to join in and giving them positions of leadership. Like, I'm curious if there's a Nazi chapter somewhere which are celebrating the first ever black rapper as our representative, you know, something like that. And the problem with him is that he is anti-Semitic, right? Like, he said things that are outside of the overtone window. Like, had he said that the white man is keeping him down, that like the bosses in his industry, the white people are, the cisgender straight white people are keeping down, I'm pretty sure Cenk Uygur could have invited him into the studio and they could have had a very pleasant interview about that. But because he goes to a subcategory of white people, well, in that case, let's get you canceled, let's get you silenced, let's make sure you're never going to speak about it again until you change your mind that the subsection of white people are keeping you down. Do you think that actually works? Like, do you think that actually de-radicalizes people? Or an actual conversation about the subject can de-radicalize people? Like, that's the question. But anyway, right. I would like to point out that you can even see right now in the US a fringe remnants of the past, where you could actually have interviews with controversial figures without the need of editorializing, without the need of someone speaking over them and the interviewer interrupting them every second. And that is probably the presidential and the vice presidential debates, right? Like, those are made in a way where you can have, regardless of how controversial the person is, to come up on a stage and just answer questions, and they have a time to express what they say. And then the audience gets to decide for themselves who is right and who is wrong. But like the way that the Young Turks want to do interviews is like they invite someone they disagree with, and they constantly interrupt him, they constantly talk over him, they feign moral outrage, they get red in the face, and right? That's entertainment. That's not actually an interview.
100%.
Get man up.
No.
Do a real goddamn interview, you loser.
No, it is an insult to bitches to call Tim Pool a bitch. I'm just saying, okay? The other thing that I'll just note is all we hear from right-wingers, including Tim Pool, and yes, you piece of garbage, you're a right-winger, your little grift of, I'm actually a centrist who provides cover for anti-Semites.
The reason Tim Pool is a centrist is because there are people with far more right-wing ideas than Tim Pool has. And we can go on every single issue. We can go on abortion, we can go on immigration, we can go like literally on every single checklist, and you will find out that there are people with far more extreme radical views than Tim Pool, which, by the way, are not far right. They're also like mainline conservatives. Like, if you take Tim Pool and DeSantis, I'm pretty sure that DeSantis has more right-wing views than Tim Pool on many issues. And secondly, like the idea that, oh, well, he is providing cover for anti-Semites. This is literally why the anti-Semites left his show. It's because he didn't go along with it. Like, if he wanted to make money, if he wanted to, I guess, appeal to that particular crowd, then he could have just played along, and he could have been like, yeah, tell me more, go on, like, well, tell me about them, they, you know, what are their pronouns? And he could have done that, and he could have just had the rapper and Nick Fuentes just sit there for the entire show. The only reason they left is because he wasn't agreeing with them.
We can't go a day without hearing from right-wingers defaming innocent people as groomers, as pedophiles, as dangerous individuals, whether we're talking about medical professionals, whether we're talking about educators. It's just endless, nonstop defamation of innocent.
Oh, not defaming the innocent people, not the Young Turks. Let's ask Anna what she thinks about the straight cisgender white men in the United States. Let's see what her views are on that. But anyway, right, the idea of defaming entire professions. The Young Turks, which is famous for attacking the cops, non-fucking stop. And it's like, oh yes, all cops. Oh yes, it's systemic. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Really? So the professionals, which are supposed to tackle crime, but then you have the Young Turks in the office, which knows better than the professionals, and they claim that it's fine to attack this profession that they don't like, but it's beyond the pale to criticize teachers or to criticize doctors. And by the way, Libs of TikTok, which is amplifying the voices of some teachers and doctors and is bringing to light what they're posting on TikTok, that is to be shut down. Very interesting.
But you invited someone who tried to make a case for pedophilia into your studio to have a nice, delightful conversation. Milo Yiannopoulos sitting right there.
There is this huge debate right now in the United States, this controversy over certain curriculum that is being pushed in schools, some of which is even pornographic in nature, to the point where the parents read it in front of the teacher council. The teacher council told the parents to stop because it was so obscene. And then you also have a couple of school professors that have took the children to drag kids story hour and other things, right? So right-wingers are outraged by this. And the response that the left is saying, it's like, no, you're targeting innocent people. Or, but what about the Catholic Church? But what about this case? But what about that case? But what about, right? So like just trying to deflect. And the answer to the deflection is like, when it was about the Catholic Church, no one was deflecting. Like everyone was on board. I know devout Catholics that were disgusted by what they were seeing. I haven't heard a single case of a whataboutery then. And in the case of Milo Yiannopoulos, he got canceled. Like, because of his statements, he was disavowed by the right. So, him going on Tim Pool, like, first of all, everyone is aware of his statements, I think. Like, I don't believe there's many people in Tim Pool's audience that isn't aware what Milo said and did. But secondly, when would he even get the time to ask him? Like, it was a 20-minute interview, as you pointed out. Like, maybe those questions would have popped up if it was longer than 20 minutes. But hey, the Young Turks, there's nothing stopping you from doing the interview the way you want it. I mean, you can invite Kanye and you can invite Milo Yiannopoulos into your interview, and then you can conduct it however you please. And you know what? I'll even give you a super chat, because I see you're so desperate for views that you're doing this drama with Tim Pool. Apparently on a weekly basis now. So, you know, if you're so concerned about how he runs his show, why don't you run your show better? What's stopping you? Let me know what you guys think. And as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.